Hey everyone, it's the Arid Lord. Um, Later weekend update and vlog for y'all. I just wanted to tackle some of the recent Walking Dead news that has been coming out. I think they see the show's inevitable ending that they themselves set and are trying to put as much content in the minds of people to keep them wrapped into the universe. And we come here yet again with a new announcement, and we have a new series, limited series. I think I'm not sure how long it's going to be. I don't even know if they said for Maggie and Negan. Now, I am joined, of course, on this video. Had to team up again with Jeff from the Walking Dead world, very popular on Twitter, with all of his timely Walking Dead news and tweets. And he's joining me because I think we we have some varied reactions to this news, and I'm interested in getting his thoughts. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited to talk about the news after kind of having a few days to think on it and kind of process like my shock of it because it's not something I was expecting at all. But I feel like it's gonna be one of those shows that is interesting to see what we learn about in the coming year or so before it premieres.
Right. Yeah. I The first thing I thought immediately, like Negan, and this is the name. Funny enough, this is the name of a comic that came out 2 years ago. But Negan lives. In the
Yeah.
in the sense that I was worried that he might get Rick's comic fate from the comic books, and this is comic spoiler briefly for people. But I thought Negan might get that. Like he hasn't been in so far in the Commonwealth arc. He's not even a part of it. He's still rogue on the outside. And it's kind of unclear like what the heck his role for the rest of the series is going to be. Um, but I was very surprised, not just him, but Maggie as well. I mean, these are two flagship characters where you basically. So, are we to assume, now that there's a Daryl and Carol spinoff, and there's a Maggie and Negan spinoff, are we saying all four of those characters are safe? What are your thoughts there? Do we think they will definitely survive the remaining episodes of season 11?
So see, that's what I'm really interested because that's I mean, they just confirmed that four of their biggest characters seemingly do survive the rest of the series when we still have that whole last part of the final season to go through. Um the only thing I can think of is if somehow in the finale, like the very last episode of the main show, if they somehow jump ahead far into the future and we see the characters again, but they're older, and then these spin-offs pick up um, like later. I don't or during that time jump. I don't really know. But it does feel like they've just confirmed their um, survival through
Hmm.
the rest of the show, which is so strange to do. But I feel like AMC has cared less and less about that over the years.
Yeah, I kind of feel like this is like the spoiling dead fans all over again, and it's very weird. I don't know if you remember them. This is back
Yeah.
during the high point of the show when it was racking in millions and millions of viewers, and the smallest bit of information about a hero or villain was very much like everyone leaned on that information, and it kind of reached a climax with the introduction of Negan, and it then kind of dipped off and died off over that. They made a brief resurgence on their forums during the whole Whisperer arc when the whole. So basically, they were around for the two big deaths of which is the head pike scene with Alpha, and then the head bashing scene with Negan, which are the two most brutal events of the show. I don't think there's
Hmm.
anything in the Commonwealth that can match it, right? I mean, the comics, it's just Rick getting shot. Like that, I think there's like brief Civil War scenes, but there's nothing like on that level. And that's the thing. It's almost like the Commonwealth couldn't top what Kirkman had already set up, which is
Yeah.
kind of interesting looking back on it.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because there really hasn't been any big death really this season, other than, I mean, Alden's really the only character that died from our main group, but um, they haven't really done anything like super crazy this season at least. So I don't know if they're saving like some of the characters for the end, but it kind of takes like the suspense for those four characters that we at least know are gonna be seen again after the show. I mean, Daryl, Carol, those are two characters that we've kind of never really had to worry about too much. And then Negan and Maggie, same thing. It's kind of, they've been such a heavy focus of the show for so long. But now, like with the final season, it kind of seemed like all bets were off for everyone. But now that's not really the case when we know these spin-offs are coming. So it's a weird thing unless they have some sort of like twist that they're going to throw at us. But I just don't really see that being the case.
Mm-hmm. It's a very odd decision to announce these like, because they haven't even said outright that they do survive. But I'm like, well, then how else are you going to have a series? There's no universe where Negan and Maggie don't survive and go on. Like, you can't have your show in Manhattan without them. Like
Yeah.
they're not dying in the end of this show. Like, it's not like I wanted either of them. I was hoping that Negan didn't, because he's one of my favorite, if not my favorite character that's still left on the show. But like you said, the suspense is taken away. Now I don't have to wonder. I can kind of like, oh, good, like they're gonna keep him around, but like the suspense of that is gone. And now I don't know what the. It is kind of fun for me, I guess, because I can't predict what the Commonwealth stuff is gonna be at all. Like, even the previews. I mean, not to jump ahead too much, but even the previews for episode 13. I don't know if you've like watched 12 and you've seen the 13 previews.
Yeah.
But like
Hmm.
this whole like group that's not in the comics, like this like band of like marauders that like that the Hilltop wants to take in, and the Commonwealth doesn't seem like they're for it. Like that's like
Yeah.
that's not in the comics at all. Like that's completely off script. So
Yeah.
they're just like kind of doing their own thing, which is fine, because I really didn't like a lot of the stuff in with the Commonwealth in the comics anyway. I felt like it was Pamela Milton and Rick talking politics for 18 issues straight, and then Rick gives one big speech,
Yeah.
and then the whole thing's over. Like, I didn't really know. I think that was the thing. Kirkman didn't know where he was going with that, and then was just like, "Oh shit, I gotta wrap it up," and then he
Yeah.
did. So
Yeah.
we had a little bit of that conversating, and I think they've replaced a lot of Rick's philosophical discussions with Pamela, with Maggie in episode 12.
Hmm.
So she's taken that role, but we know that's not going to dominate the next coming episodes, because Maggie's at Hilltop and Pamela's at Comet. Like they're leaders of two separate communities, and so it was cool
Yeah.
to see the overlap. But to get back to the series, I guess it just adds to the unpredictability. But it's unpredictability in a different manner, and I wonder.
Yeah.
Now I will go. I don't know if you saw this article, but there was a really interesting article I read that talked about why this happened, and it's not confirmation as to why it happened. I think it's like a popular like media theory, because I guess so long as The Walking Dead was running, they had some sort of deal with Netflix or something, where their show had to stay on Netflix and it would be like streamed, but by and so AMC wanted their content on AMC Plus, and like there was some like clause in the contract with Netflix where they really couldn't get out of it. So by ending the main show, and then like, because it's almost like The Walking Dead's not ending. Like, you have two shows that are separate shows, but they deal with four main characters, like Carol, Daryl, Maggie, and Negan. You could have an episode of The Walking Dead that has just them in it, and like people would watch it. Like, that feels like a Walking Dead episode to me. So the popular
Yeah.
theory is that they just took The Walking Dead and split it amongst like 3 or 4 shows so they could get out of a contract and then end the show, but like still kind of continue the show through these mini shows. And I had never seen that theory before or thought about it. And then I was like, shit, like that's what they're doing. Because we have Daryl
Yeah.
and Carol, we have like the Tales, like I guess Alpha is going to be, I saw that Alpha is going to be in the Tales series, like the Tales of the Walking
Mm-hmm.
Dead in the past. And then you're going to have, and other characters that have been alive or dead at some point are going to be in that too. And then you have all of the classic actors that are still connected to the universe, and it's almost like the show's not really going to end in a sense. Like you could almost like have one big cast set where it's like, okay, I'm sure there's different showrunners and directors and stuff, but you could have, Maggie and Negan doing their thing over here, and on the other set you got Daryl and Carol doing their thing over here. Like, it's almost like you could just recreate The Walking Dead again, but it's under a different format, And so the
Yeah.
article was like, streaming killed The Walking Dead. This, like, The Walking Dead might have gone on for seasons 12, 13, and on, with this, like, Maggie and Negan going to Manhattan and Daryl and Carol, like, whatever the hell they do. Like, you would have had, like, an episode, like the Daryl and Carol episode, then the Maggie Negan episode, then the Daryl and Carol episode, then maybe like a flashback episode for something. Like, you would have had it all on just the Walking Dead string, but now they're splitting it out. So, I don't know if you've seen this theory, but, like, that's
Yeah.
what's been discussed. So
I definitely think that's a huge part of why they're doing this. And I also think a huge part of it is because when a show is on the air for a long time, like The Walking Dead is, it ends up being more and more expensive the longer it goes on. And especially when you have like a huge cast, like The Walking Dead cast is massive right now. It's probably the biggest it's ever been. And to then kind of take it and cut it into a few smaller shows with still your big cast members, but not nearly as many cast members that you're having to pay per episode. It's probably a big way of just kind of saving money, to be honest, which is, it's smart for AMC to, they can still keep their biggest characters and to still tell big stories, but they're in the long run saving money by not having to pay 20 main cast members. They're just now, for like the Negan and Maggie show, it'll just be 2 main cast members. So I kind of see what they're doing there, but also I'm kind of like, how are you going to save money when you're filming a show in New York City and you have to do this big apocalyptic, set pieces and all this? So that's where I'm interested to see, like, if it'll be a smaller budget version of The Walking Dead, or if we're still going to get like a big budget production, with Negan and Maggie. So it's interesting.
yeah. The other thing that I thought about immediately when they revealed the location was, doesn't the CRM have some sort of base up in Manhattan? You think we're going to get some type of CRM like crossover stuff? What are you thinking there?
Yeah, so I definitely feel like that'll have to like factor in somehow. They've never shown New York City or Manhattan or that specific area. They've referenced it, I think, and they've shown parts of New York, upstate New York, a few times in World Beyond. So I definitely think it might have something to do with the CRM. I feel like my kind of working theory for these 2 shows might be that these 4 characters kind of go off looking for maybe some information about Rick. They might get like a hint that, oh, maybe there's something going on in New York City and Rick might be there. And Daryl and Carol go check out, a different lead. So I feel like that might be the route that they're taking. Since the CRM is kind of like the most like looming force in this whole universe. We've seen it pop up in every single corner of the universe. So I feel like they'll want to tie these shows into that also, especially since we really haven't gotten anything related to the CRM in the main show in a long time. So they'll have to loop that back somehow. So I don't know. I feel like that's definitely going to factor in, though.
Well, because then we also have what they teased at the end of World Beyond with these different walkers, these fast walker things. And
yeah,
I'm just thinking to myself, what's the, like, where are you going to insert that? Is that for the movies, the Rick Grimes movies that seemingly just has no semblance of life or existence to them? Or are we going to put that somewhere in these series? Like, it's just like you kind of missed your chance. Like you could have made this part of the big finale of the show to tie everything together, and that's why I'm still disappointed that there's not like one or two more seasons of The Walking Dead, so you can have the CRM is somehow brought into the Commonwealth, or they fight each other. I still think it's bizarre that the two don't know who the other is. I feel like they have to, and Gimple teased that they might. But even if you bring that up, like, how do you? I don't know. I mean, I'm not the storyteller and the storyboarder for this, but I'm just wondering, like, with the amount of episodes that you have, how do you round this out? Like, what feels like the conclusion is my because you're not killing off Daryl, who seems to be like that's your main character right now. So by having him in this series, you're not killing him off. Carol, closest thing to a second, you're not killing her off. Negan is kind of like your anti-hero that people are growing on. He's not there. And then Maggie's really character number 3, and she's not going either. So
yeah.
I don't see where you mark the end of the show. Because Rick is not there. Unless the rumors of him... Like, I don't know if he was filming. He only seemed to be in Atlanta briefly when he took the photo with the fan. I don't know. That could be a totally different vlog where we theorize about that, but it was just one photo, because then a few days later I saw he was back in the United Kingdom, so I'm not sure if he was actually filming or not. And also, like, how do you bring him in so quickly? Like, I almost feel like you need some episodes to, like, dedicate to that, Like, would you really be able to just, address it so quickly? It feels like you wouldn't be able to. I don't know. Like, where's the end point? Like, what do you envision the end point? Like, how do they end The Walking Dead season 11 so then they can say, all right, now take the adventure off into these spin-off shows, the Maggie Negan Manhattan show, the Daryl. I don't even know what the hell the Daryl Carroll one is. Like, where does it take place? So, like, where's the end point? Like, in the comics, it was very simple. They killed off the main freaking character, but like, you almost can't do that now because those characters are in the shows.
Yeah, I kind of feel like we'll get some sort of like character death for someone maybe like Gabriel or Aaron, or maybe like two of those long-standing characters like that they take out in this Commonwealth arc, and then I feel like we'll see like Alexandria and the Hilltop and Oceanside be kind of rebuilt, and that might be how the series ends, with them kind of like stronger than they are right now. And then I feel like we'll just see the characters kind of go their own paths. And that'll be kind of their way of assuring that this franchise has a future. So I feel like these two spinoffs might be they might not be the only two that we're getting. I could see them doing, something with another pair of characters and sending them off to who knows where. And, I don't know if it'll be something they end up tying together later on, if those characters cross paths later, or if they cross paths with some other Walking Dead universe characters.
Yeah, they just make The Walking Dead 2.0, and they just merge all the shows eventually. What's another pair? What pair would you want to see of the ones that we have? Like, what's the other pair that you think?
I've really been liking the Aaron and Gabriel relationship that we've seen.
We did have a bonus episode with them, just the two of them.
Yeah, and it looks like episode 13 is going to focus on them again. So I really have liked what we've been getting with them, and I think they're a cool pair to have, especially since they're both like really like leaders. And I feel like Aaron's past, where he was, recruiting for Alexandria, they could do something kind of cool with that, where the two of them sort of go out looking for other survivors, which is one thing that I do look forward to with these other spinoffs that we have coming up with Negan and Maggie, and then Daryl and Carol. If they have like a smaller cast where it's just the two leads, if we get to see them kind of go off on the road and we meet like other survivors that, aren't main characters, they're just kind of in for an episode or two, I feel like that would be a cool way to kind of have them explore this world without kind of having them linked to a single community. So it kind of opens the door for like who will Negan and Maggie run into in Manhattan? You know, like who will they cross paths with? And we could get like some really cool like guest stars in with that. So
Yeah,
that's
I
something
think
I'm
there's
looking forward to.
opportunities there and new characters. And again, if they bring the CRM into it, because they seem to be, that's like the common thread. They're weaved through the whole thing, and so it's like,
Yeah.
what, maybe that's it. Maybe the end game is the movies, but I'm just trying to think of like where they want that end point to be. Like I don't have it mapped out. I'm sure Gimple does have it mapped out, and I can't visualize it right now just because they've given us some endpoints. Like the show ends here,
Yeah.
but you've got these other series. World Beyond is done. Fear the Walking Dead's off, and I don't even know, they're off in their own little universe of nuclear apocalypse, Alicia versus Strand War. I don't know, like I don't know what the resolution there is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't tell you. I'm pretty, I've tried to predict this and I just don't know. And it's interesting because for so much of my time with the show, I was often able to say like, okay, they're covering the Saviors. I kind of know the direction, but they're going to remix it. And the Whisperers, ooh, like, okay. The Whisperers, I didn't think they were done that well in the comics. Oh, ooh, like, I think that's Angela Kang's crowning achievement, is that she made the Whisperers 1,000 times more interesting than they were in the comics, and gave both Alpha and Beta a ton more life than they got in the freaking comics pages. So, but now now that we know the show's ending, it's like I don't know. And then Rick's not there because that's a major element that's not involved in the Commonwealth, and he's like 90%. He's just freaking talking politics and trying to diffuse shit. And like, who's gonna get the Dwight death? Did you ever think of that? Like, remember when like someone's trying to pulls a gun on Pamela, and then a main character has to shoot that character in the head? Like, are we gonna get a remix of that? Like,
yeah. See, that's what I was thinking. Like, if these spinoffs hadn't been announced, I could see them doing something like that with like Cheryl, where she, just kind of snaps and goes after Pamela, or something like with Maggie or Daryl. But now that we know that those characters are basically safe, it kind of takes them out of the picture. So I could see maybe like Rosita getting something like that, but then I'm like, I don't know why she would risk her family for that. And
yeah, you start going down the list, and it's like we're running out of, like where's the heavy hitter there? Your heavy hitters are all like, oh, they're reserved for the spinoff series. That's why we're in this conundrum here. So it's kind of like, I don't know. Like, I guess, what would you like the plot of the new spinoff series, the Negan Maggie one, to be about? Like, other than that, like, what's their, like, why are they there? Who are they going to run into? We're thinking some CRM stuff, but like, what's the main reason? Also, these characters don't like each other, by the way. Like, can we just like remind ourselves, like, why would they go on an adventure together? Like, Negan in the past couple episodes has left. He saw what Maggie did to the Reapers, and he's like, oh, you might do that to me. Like, I don't want to hang around you. What's going to make them hang around each other all of a sudden?
Yeah, that's what like really threw me off too, because I kind of felt like where we last saw the two of them, it felt like that was kind of the end of this sort of storyline they've had together this season, where it's kind of like they're at each other's throats. It kind of felt like that was, okay, we're going to push pause on that for a little bit. And I mean, I don't even know when Negan's going to come back into the story. Like, I have no clue when, how. My kind of hope for what ends up happening is it's kind of the two of them going there for a very specific reason. It's not just them like deciding to go to Manhattan to like scout for supplies. I hope they have a very specific reason for going, because I mean, that sounds like the last place you would go. It's one of the biggest cities in the world. They know that cities are not safe. So it's like, why would you go into that kind of danger? But I found the little tiny description that they released to be pretty interesting, because it said something about Manhattan being cut off from like the rest of the world for a very long time. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe the city isn't as destroyed as you would expect it to be. Maybe there's parts of it that kind of were able to hang on. So that's something I'm interested in seeing. I think the setting is the best thing it has going for it, besides, having the talent of the two actors. The setting is something they can really do a lot with, exploring like the iconic landmarks, and just having such a major city be the setting is something that's really cool, because they've kind of always been in the woods on all the shows for the most part. But this show is actually going to be set there. It's going to be filmed there, so they can really do a lot with it. I just hope they give us a very specific reason. I hope it's not just, oh, they show up in New York City with no reason.
Yes, it's like, why don't we just take a vacation? Like, or maybe they're trying maybe they're trying to run from the Commonwealth. Maybe the Commonwealth's hunting them. Like, maybe with what's going on right now, that teaser where we saw Daryl show up with, against Maggie. If it's Maggie in the Hilltop versus the Commonwealth, maybe she's on the run from them. I mean, she's rogue and, needs somewhere to get away. And I guess so. The official name of this thing, to round out, Isle of the Dead. It will be set in a crumbling post-apocalyptic Manhattan. Long cut off from the mainland. The Big Apple is now occupied by only the dead and a handful of denizens trying to survive. It is a season. Wow, it's not a limited series, so this is a season 1. It's set to premiere in 2023 on AMC and AMC Plus, and will feature 6 episodes. And the Walking Dead writer Eli Jorn will serve as showrunner. And then good old Scott Gimple will be the executive producer. And the Jeffrey Dean and Lauren will be also producing on this thing.
Yeah. So that's interesting too, because that was probably a huge part of like their contract negotiations, was that they, surely are getting a big pay bump for doing this, and then getting more creative control than they had on just the regular show. Because I know that was the case for Norman Reedus and Melissa McBride. They signed massive contracts when they agreed to do their spinoff. So I'm assuming it's a similar situation for these two. Because I personally didn't expect. We knew Norman and Melissa would be sticking with the franchise after the show ends, but I wasn't expecting these two to stay on beyond the main show. I kind of thought, maybe down the line Jeffrey Dean Morgan would return after a couple of years of the main show being off. But definitely with Lauren Cohan,
definitely not Lauren Cohan. Like, Jeffrey Dean is close friends with Norman Reedus, so I'm sure Norman was like, come on, like, stick around, and you're a big part of this universe now. And but then because Lauren stepped away from the show for a period of time and then came back, so I'm kind of surprised about that.
And I kind of always got the feeling that she came back to kind of finish out the run of the show, just kind of to be part of the last season, and I thought it would be to conclude her character's story, but it looks like her character's story is being opened up again. And I feel like this is another reason they kind of signed on to do it, is because 6 episodes is very different from doing 16 episodes. So they can film those 6 episodes in a way shorter amount of time, and it's not as big of a commitment. Whereas like this current season of Walking Dead, they're finishing filming right now, and they've been filming since February of 2021. So it's been nonstop for them this whole time, whereas 6 episodes won't take nearly as long. So it's kind of a good adjustment, I feel like, for the cast, to not really have to have that huge of a commitment, and they can maybe have time to do other things in the meantime while still, sticking with that story and franchise.
Right. Yeah, it's a gamble. I think 6 episodes, lets them see where the interest is. And I think are you trying to move away from cable so you can just go streaming? Because like everything's going streaming, and I think this is a way for AMC to take all their stuff in house, market the hell out of AMC Plus, and then be like, okay, now we're not gonna rate this anymore by how many Nielsen rating millions of views that it gets on cable. That's almost like an outdated system of measuring your performance.
Yeah.
Now let's go judge it by our stream sales or people who sign up for AMC Plus. Because think about it this way for me, the two biggest shows on AMC and my two favorite shows end this year, Better Call Saul and The Walking Dead, both end in 2022. You are going to see a very large number of people leave that service at the end of this year. And I don't know if these spin-off series are enough to get people to stay. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think AMC Plus is something they've really been pushing hard these last few years. And by kind of shifting their content to that, I mean, I think that their big shows like the Walking Dead franchise will always air on AMC, their television network. But they obviously have like huge incentive to sign up for AMC Plus with episodes releasing early. There's bonus content on there and stuff. So they're clearly trying to push that hard. And from what I've seen, like with the numbers, because they do release their numbers like yearly, AMC Plus does pretty well right now with the main show and with Fear the Walking Dead and World Beyond. It's done pretty well with viewership with those. So it'll be interesting to see like how they do things when the main show is no longer on the air and they just have these spinoffs to kind of hold it up, because that'll be sort of a true test of the future of the franchise.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm really going to have to look like come October, November, or just the end of the year, what their stream numbers are, because you're losing your two flagship shows and you're banking on all these spin-offs saving it. I don't know what the heck else AMC produces. I don't follow whatever else they produce that's not the Breaking Bad universe or the Walking Dead universe, to be quite honest. So,
yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see, but the concept and the characters of this excite me, don't get me wrong. Like, my questions just talk about the universe as a whole, like where that's headed, and that's why I'm just kind of like confused. So, depending where that goes, maybe they make the right decisions. As long as the series can end better than Game of Thrones, I mean, you've already done immensely better. So,
yeah,
I feel like the bar's pretty low,
Yeah, and they're gonna have to, for me at least, they're gonna have to do quite a bit of work in these last episodes of the main show to kind of justify these spinoffs, because I'm gonna need like a solid reason for like why Daryl and Carol are going off, when I mean Daryl is essentially the sole guardian of Judith and RJ, so I'm gonna need like an actual reason for why he's leaving them that fits into the story, because it wouldn't make sense for him to just disappear and leave them. Same with like Maggie. I mean, I'm assuming Herschel's not going to be coming with her, so I'm going to need a reason why she's going to be leaving him. Like these types of things need to be wrapped up in the main show before they just send the characters going off in different directions.
Maybe she finally caves into the Commonwealth and lets him grow up in an actual school there. I don't know.
Yeah,
that could be one reason.
Yeah.
But then why is she leaving? Like I don't know.
Yeah. So there's a lot riding on like these last episodes of the show.
Also,
they have a lot of work to do.
I agree with you. They have their work cut out for them. And last thing, what about Michonne? Is she gonna come into the series? Are they gonna have the Michonne spin? That's what I've been kind of thinking. I'm like, I've always thought they'll most likely just insert her into one of the Rick Grimes movies, and they'll wrap her character up there with something to do with Rick. It would make sense, that's your dynamic duo, your power couple, and you want to wrap them up and together. But I don't know. Maybe she comes into what. It depends if the actress wants to freaking come back and do it. Of course, I'm sure Gimple has talked to her, like, "Hey, like your character's being taken out of the show," or she asked for it, and they're like, "Well, will you reprise the role at some point so we can, give your character justice?" So
Yeah, I mean they set up the last we saw, she was heading north to for Rick, and she ran into that big caravan of people, and we didn't get any kind of explanation of what that is, and we still don't know. So I could see them tying that into maybe one of these stories and kind of linking them all into the search for Rick. And I actually wouldn't mind that if we got something like that where these shows are kind of bridging the gap and are kind of giving us a way to have characters like Daryl and Carol reunite with Rick in the movies, because I would love to see that. And obviously Michonne too. I could see them doing like a Michonne mini series that shows where she is and where she's going and how she ends up finding Rick, to sort of set up the movies if those do ever happen.
yeah, I hope they've rounded out. I think that's just the theme here, is that they give justice to, because you have so many moving parts and you want to give the universe justice. So do they accomplish that? And how well do they do it? And again, I've had faith in Kang. I know Gimple hasn't always been on the mark, but I have to imagine they've got a really good understanding of their universe and they're not rushing it. Like it's almost the opposite of Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones was making less content. They're making more content. They're going the opposite direction, and they're like more, and I'm just saying, okay, can you like link this together in a logical format? Game of Thrones just wrapped it up quick and it made no fucking sense. But this is the opposite, where there's so much, and it's like, well, is it gonna make sense because there's a lot of it? Like, I wanna make sure that it links together properly. Your show's ending, these movies are off in the fucking stratosphere. You got some like additional series coming out. Like I can't make heads or tails of what they're doing here, and it's almost keeping me. Like, the intrigue of that is keeping me, like, looped into this. And I know for a fact I have the finale. I'm going to get the finale of the show this year. So that'll answer a lot of questions. That'll answer questions about, like, if Rick's in it, in any of the remaining episodes of the show. If there's mention of the CRM, if there's a Commonwealth CRM crossover, then we'll know for certain how Daryl and Carol go on their venture, how Maggie and Negan. So the end of the show will answer a lot of questions for us that we're asking right now. And I tell you, if they don't have here, this is the way you get people pumped up for the fucking movie. You put a release date when the finale airs of The Walking Dead. They have all the cast, and it's Chris Hardwick's on the moon or wherever he's doing the broadcast from. you have Gimple there at the end to say, like, June 2023, the Rick Grimes movie is coming out. Not a fucking trailer. It's coming out. Like, you need something like that. You cannot tell people that this thing is still in production, because it's lunacy at this point. Lunacy.
Yeah. I think it would be insane if, like, during the Talking Dead special, because surely they'll have, like, a big one with the whole cast and everything. If as soon as that series finale ends and they have the whole cast there, if Chris Hardwick does his thing and he's like, we have a surprise guest, and Andrew Lincoln walks out on stage. They put up an announcement that the exact date of when it's coming out. Maybe they roll a trailer, something like that. I think that would be perfect. I think that would be something that would just like completely revitalize the interest of fans and get people talking about it again. And kind of also, they could do that with these spinoffs too, to kind of like paint a better picture of what those are going to be and when those are going to kind of fit into the timeline and when those will be coming out. So I feel like that'll be the thing to watch, is that final night that the episode is airing, the series finale, when they have Talking Dead. That can kind of be like the jumping point for the new era of the show.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be. I mean, concluding your show is a big freaking deal. Like, that's,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's 11 years, well, 12. That's like 12 years straight of a show that's wrapping up. That's incredible. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I know there's other legacy comedy shows and Seinfeld and Friends and other, shows of like just like a cable nature that just get rerun and rerun and rerun. But like this is a drama for the genre, a drama television show that's been on the air for like 11, technically 12 and a half seasons. That's incredible. Especially now. Especially now where series run maybe 5 seasons. Like right now shows usually get to like 5 seasons. You're not usually getting to like the double digits. You're just not.
Yeah.
Even the most popular series, Breaking Bad, Stranger Things, Game of Thrones didn't even make it to double digit seasons. Like, like some of your biggest series, like they haven't done that, And so this is a big accomplishment. And they deserve to celebrate, and they deserve to really. Gimple should map out, be like, okay, like here are all the series that are like really tell the fans. Here's when the movies are coming out. Here's when all the series are coming out. Maybe there's another series that deal with the fast walkers in France. Here's maybe they're gonna announce when Fear the Walking Dead will finally end, and if that's gonna loop into anything, he should tell all. The finale of the show should be his announcement to like this is what's happening with the show. And, what do you think of... Like, this is why you should continue with the universe now that the main show's done. Like, you almost have to do the biggest PR pitch possible to... I'm sure, like, Gimple's almost like the AMC spokesperson to, like, keep people on the platform. Like, hey, this is the show that's been our top dog. Stay with it,
Yeah. Yeah, and I really think it says a lot about, like, this franchise. I mean, you can say what you will about it. We always see, like, the comments when news about the show breaks, people who don't watch the show anymore are always like, oh, this show's still on, how I stopped watching when Glenn died or whatever. But this show, I mean, it's like you said, it's survived longer than most shows have. I mean, this is a show that started before the streaming era, and it's still going, and it's built this huge franchise that seems to be continuing long on into the future. And AMC wouldn't be signing off on all these spinoffs if they didn't have confidence in it. Like, they would not be investing this kind of money into all these different projects if they thought they were going to fail. And I mean, obviously the ratings aren't what they always were, but it's still a very in-demand show based on like the statistics and everything. And the social media aspect of it is still very important. So I feel like they definitely do have confidence in the series, and they should, because it clearly still does very well.
Yeah.
When other shows aren't. So it'll be interesting to see what life is like in a post mothership world of the franchise.
It'll be a shift, and like you said, like they owe it, and you can't, like you were saying about the comments, you can't not deny like what the history of this show has meant for just like I was saying, like the fact that it got to double digits, that not many drama television shows do that, like that's a major accomplishment, and so it's just like you got to respect that. And I think it'll be a different post Walking Dead world, but I think that it's up to them to continue it. They're adding all these new elements, yet they're ending the show, so it's on them to continue it in the best way, the best format possible.
Yeah, and they got to give people like reasons to watch these shows. Like, I don't want the Daryl and Carol show to just be like The Walking Dead 2.0. I want it to be something very different from what we've seen before. Same with the Negan and Maggie spinoff. I don't want it to just be like more of them bickering with each other. I want it to be something that we've never seen in this franchise before. And based on the comments from the actors, it kind of seemed like they have an idea that it will be something different. But you have to give people something new and exciting that's not just same old. And I do feel like this franchise has always done well with that. They've kind of tried to keep people, invested in various ways with the spinoffs, but also with the main show. So we'll see.
We will indeed. This ended up being a very much larger universe conversation about the show. But I mean, you can't talk about one element without bringing up everything else. And so, I mean, I get to conclude here. I'm excited about Isle of the Dead. Um, Manhattan Walking Dead with Negan and Maggie. It sounds cool on paper. If it's executed well, I'm sure it'll be great. It'll kind of feel like an extension of the show.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'm excited for it, but I'll keep a guarded optimism and see what the future holds.
Definitely, definitely.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you for joining me, Jeff. Always pleasure. Great assessments and everything, and obviously we're both kind of in the same boat as how we're thinking about the show and its future. And yeah, it's about all I got.
Yeah, I'm excited for the future. I think they've got some cool things in store, and it's kind of just the like intrigue of it all, seeing how it'll sort of unfold that has me so invested.
Right.
So I'm excited.
Absolutely. All right, sir. Thank you so much, and I'm sure we'll be back for another one of these discussion vlogs for the next bombshell announcement.
Definitely.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys. See you later for another vlog.